Welcome to Publisher Spotlight, and we are trying a new version of our Publisher Spotlight Showcase. So today we're going to show you some of our very, very favorite of the Fall 22 titles, with maybe a few from Spring 23, because, you know, we can be flexible, right?
Yes.
And I'm joined here right now, but you're going to meet all of our team. Oh my gosh, it's going to be so exciting. I'm joined by Tracy Gallagher, who I have known since 2002. Oh my goodness.
20 years.
Yeah. Tracy's an experienced librarian and just one of the people I most respect in this world. So
Thank you for that.
well, heck yeah. So we're going to start off the procedure by talking about Lion Life in Tilbury. But you know what? Before I do this in any kind of depth, I want to bring up the fact that we will have an entire list of all the books we're talking about on a Pinterest board with all pictures of the books, linking back to their websites and all that kind of fun stuff if you want to be able to get more information about the individual titles. So let's get started on Lion Life from Tilbury House. And would you like to get us started off?
I would love to. So Lilize is one of my favorite books from this season because not only is it a fascinating story in and of itself, but it's based on a true story in which we can expand for the children who are interested in this. This is the story of a young man who was put in charge. He is Maasai, I should say that. He is in charge of his family's cattle herd, and lions are a problem. Lions tend to come in and kill their cattle because lions are hungry, and as he eloquently puts it, it's easier to kill and eat a cow than it is to go after those zippy zebras. So, at the age of 10, he started really trying to figure out how he could keep the lions from killing their cattle and the cattle of the herders around them. And by the time he was 12 years old, he invented these lion lights. It cost $10 and solved the problem. In fact, it was so impressive that by the time he was 13 years old, he was doing a TED Talk on his own. And didn't you say something about him having a patent?
Youngest person in Kenya to have a patent. True story.
So not only do we have this young man who has solved the problem of the lions killing his family's cattle, but he has gotten to go all over the world and showcase this invention of his. And can we turn quickly to, I just love this page that shows him working on setting up the lights that are going to protect his cattle. So we have the cultural awareness of this problem that exists in other parts of the world. We have the STEM aspects of him going through and creating these things, and then the perseverance, which is so important. Then what does he look like now? Well, he is an adult. He still goes through, and he still protects his livestock and the livestock of the families around him by this $10 invention.
It's amazing. And one of the things that I think is really cool about this is that I first became aware of Maasai culture in a picture book from 14 Cows for America, which of course is a classic. And if somebody said, what is your favorite picture book of all time? That's what I would say. Even thinking about it, I get chills. But one of the things early in that book it says is, to the Maasai, the cow is life, which really helps you understand the importance of cattle to the tribal life of the Maasai. So the fact that he figured out a way to save the life of pretty much of their whole tribe with this invention is just, to me, amazing and astonishing. And the illustrations are just incredible. The other thing that is really cool about this is, we'll get back here, is we have really good back matter about the Maasai. Now, sometimes when I'm doing presentations, I have a little game we play, like take a drink every time I say fantastic back matter. So if you want to play at home, go ahead and just get your drink ready and look at this fantastic back matter. So that is from Tilbury House, a wonderful publisher based in Maine, here in the United States. And they do have a kind of international feel to their list. And they also have a really diverse feel. They've won the Credit Scott King honor for Magnificent Homespun Brown, the Arab American Children's Book Award for the Arabic Quilt. So many great stuff, so please do check them out. Now, our next book we're going to talk about is another internationally themed book, but this is actually from an international publisher, Burbay. Now, Tracy, I felt like you really responded to this book. in a deeper way than I did. Can you please tell us why you like this?
Okay, so Say Hello. First, a little back matter on me. Ellen knows this already, but I went to 10 schools growing up before I even graduated high school, and then I followed up with 3 different colleges. So you can say I've moved quite a few times, and I really identified in this story because little Fox here has recently moved into a new neighborhood, and Mr. Wolf lives next door. And they have a missed opportunity to say hello. And it becomes awkward, to say the least. Well, you can read it on a very superficial level of just this fun little story of this boy and this man who didn't say hello and keep running into each other. Or you could take it a little deeper and help the children in your life recognize that not all the adults are perfect, that they can have bad days themselves and maybe even get a little embarrassed about something that has occurred, which can then open up a dialogue of handling awkward situations and how it can be. But I really like the striking use of this limited palette that they have.
It's almost fluorescent.
It's very black and white, but with these pops of color. And it's always the use of the red and the blue. And then there's also another where the emotions that are carried through with this color are just, vibrant. And the last thing I want to say about this book is that the translator is a Korean to English translator, and she is neurodivergent. In fact, she uses the hashtag #actuallyautistic on her Twitter feed, and she is trying to bring more awareness and diversity into the field of translation, which to me is just something we should be aware of and embrace.
Definitely. And isn't this translator Women in Translation Month or something like that?
Yes, currently we are in
August, but you can watch this anytime, of course.
Yes, but in August, it is Women's in Translation Month.
Excellent. So this is from Burberry Books, or I guess they're called Burberry Publishing now. I just like the alliteration of Burberry Books, but yes. I get it. They actually won the Publisher of the Year prize at the Bologna International Children's Book Fair, and they had a book recently featured in the New York Times. They just do amazing work, so check them out. And by the way, if you want to start on the conversation, tag us in at Pub Spotlight on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all the places, at Pub Spotlight. So next up, we have a fantastic book, which is also from Tilbury House, but wait, there's more. And joining us is Emma Schneider, who is a marketing manager here at Publisher Spotlight, former intern, and we're delighted she's here. So Emma, what really spoke to you and In My Neighborhood?
Well, In My Neighborhood came out in 2021, so you may be wondering, why are we talking about a book from the past? But Tracy will get to that in a minute. But when I first saw this book, I immediately pictured it as an animation. It just has that Pixar feel to it. It follows the story of a little drum in this vividly imagined world of musical instruments. And he's feeling like an outcast because he can't carry a melody. His mom is a piano, his dad's a cello, his brother's a violin, and he feels like he's less than the other instruments in his family because he can't carry out these beautiful tunes like they can. And so he's walking the city, and he comes across these saxophone brothers who invite him into their group and make him realize that they need him to provide the rhythm and the tempo to carry out their own music. And he realizes that he doesn't carry the tune, he carries the band. And I think that's just a really apt, important lesson that we all have special unique talents.
Boy, I love the way that's put. You can't carry the tune, but you carry the band. And you are carrying the tune by process of elimination. So, Tracy, tell us more about the band.
Well, Tilbury House, of course, has published this fabulous book, but Live Oak Media has turned it into a read aloud, and has just done a fabulous job with interpreting this book musically and vocally. You did say something about we're going to be able to put a link to...
Yeah, we'll have a link to it in the comments look for a sample of the audiobook version of In My Neighborhood from Live Oak Media for sure.
Definitely. Mm-hmm. They chose the narrator, John Beach, to do this, and his voice is just able to do... You see how in the font it changes color and shape and size? Well, then when you listen to John Beach read this, his voice does the same, which is not an easy task. I tried reading this one out loud myself, and I am nowhere near. Even with 30 years of reading out loud to children, I am not as talented as he is there. So they've got the perfect narrator for this book, and then they fill the background with music that uses the instruments, and it swells and it flows, and it's theater of the mind is just the best way to say it. And I am going to read a little bit of the author's note from the very end because I just found this fascinating. He says that, I should mention that the author has been playing drums since about the age of 10. And he says that drumming has taken me all over the world, and I think I've learned this. By doing what you do well, you can shape your own destiny. And I just think that's such a powerful message that we need to bring to others. And so that is why I was excited that Live Oak is bringing this to a whole new audience.
Me too. And the amazing thing about this is they actually score. There's a whole new score created just for this book from Live Oak Media. So it's Live Oak Media. If you guys don't know Live Oak Media, so the thing to know about them is they've won the Grammy, they've won the Odyssey, they've won the Audie, they've won every possible award you can get for audiobooks. And they just bring the magic every single time. And I think what they do especially well is anything with a musical theme. So please check this out along with all the wonderful books from Live Oak Media. And next up, we have a book that really talks about finding your vocation, kind of like the drums,
yes.
And In My Neighborhood. And that is, If You Dream It, You Can Do It, from Pajama Press. So Emma, tell us a little bit about this one.
If You Dream It, You Can Do It is just a refreshing take on a careers book that introduces kids to 25 different people from all different backgrounds, all genders, all abilities, who found their careers through a wide range of experiences and education and inspiration. We meet people like Joshua Jones, who really built this business where he could thrive as a deaf interior designer, which I just think is brilliant.
Yeah.
So cool. There's also fun facts, spin-off jobs, and it even spotlights kids who are actually in the field practicing and getting experience in the careers that they want to pursue, which I think is just amazing.
It is. It's incredible. One thing I really love about this one, too, is that it also explores adjacent fields. So if somebody wants to be a marine biologist, and let's face it, who doesn't go through a phase of wanting to be a marine biologist, including one of the people that's going to be coming up in a few minutes, you can also find something that's close to that, like being an aquatic veterinarian or a scuba diving instructor. So many cool things. Just love what they've done here. I was recently at the School Counselors Conference. This book is perfect for anybody who wants to advise kids on different careers they can have and help them kind of think outside the box. You don't have to be a doctor or a lawyer or whatever. You can do lots of cool, interesting stuff. So that is If You Dream It, You Can Do It, and it is from Pajama Press. Pajama Press is located in Toronto, in Canada, and they do books from all over the world, and they really bring the heart to it. They won the Schneider Family Award a few times. I'm a Schneider. No relation?
I wish.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, yeah. The Schneider Family Award, which is the book for differently abled children. So that is If You Dream It, You Can Do It. And next up, we are joined by Christina Moorhead, who is another one of the team here, a published liaison, and a very, very experienced teacher. Do we mention how many decades of teaching experience? At least 3.
Yes.
Yes. So 3 decades of experience as a Montessori teacher, just a regular teacher, all the teaching stuff.
All the teaching.
So what do you love about The Last Rainbow Bird?
All across my teaching, what I love to do especially is to spark young minds, their imaginations, and to help them kind of just trust in their own creativity. And what this is the perfect tool for doing that. The Last Rainbow Bird, it is world building for young readers in an extraordinary way. The story of Alex and Joe, who with their mentor, Professor Feather, is trying to find the last rainbow bird. And talk about an inspiring, beautiful art. These are house birds who live in houses housebirds and houses, the beautiful, intricate colors they use. My imagination was certainly sparked.
And Emma, I know this is one that really resonates with you too.
Yes, I've always been fascinated with birds. So when I saw that they were coming, when Forrest was coming out with this book, I was just so excited. I mean, just all these colors are just absolutely beautiful. But although rainbow birds aren't imaginary, this book touches on important themes of wildlife conservation and really working to protect and save endangered species. And what I love is that there's back matter.
What? Back matter?
Back matter. Take a
A
swig.
little bit, yeah.
That spotlights scientists who are actually working to save rare birds from, being extinct, like bald eagles and red kites and turquoise parrots, which I just thought.
Turquoise parrots.
Yes.
Didn't know there was such a thing.
There is.
Yeah, wow. That does sound like the rainbow. It's amazing. And one thing that is really cool about this one too is that the illustrations are just incredible. This is an author-illustrator who is Scandinavian. And another book, if you may know it, is Cornelia and the Jungle Machine that came out from Gecko Press. But she is just magical in what she does, and I just adore her work. So let me tell you a little bit more about Florist Books. So Florist is based in Scotland, and they've been here, they've been around for many, many decades, and they just do amazing work. And also, fun fact, they also are the publishers of Waldorf's books in the Europe, and a lot of those books make it over here to the U.S. So if you love things that really inspire the imagination, then Florist is definitely a publisher you'd want to check out. But there are so much more than Waldorf as well. And they even had a New York Times 10 Best Illustrated last year with The Night Walk, which is incredibly gorgeous. You should definitely check out. So that is The Last Rainbow Bird. Now, next up, we've got Moonlight Zoo, which is another beautiful illustrated book. And this one is from Tiger Tales. So Tiger Tales is a publisher based in the UK and available here in the US. And we're joined now by Emily. So Emily Isbell is our intern right now. She comes to us from Belmont University, which is one of the few universities in the country that actually has a publishing program. And you're an English major. So what was it that really caught your eye in Moonlight Zoo?
Yeah, so Moonlight Zoo really helps Eva get a better grasp of the loss of her pet, which, as most children have experienced before, they have to come to some sort of positive terms with their pet maybe not coming back. So she journeys through this imaginative world where it's a zoo at night, and she's looking for her animal, or her cat, via the help of a wolf. And at the end, he helps her reconcile with the fact that maybe she won't find him, but even though she, spoiler alert, does.
So relieved. Yes.
It does help kids in being able to cope with the idea of their pet not being with them, but being able to be safe.
And Emma, I know you really like this one too.
This book, just take a look at these intricately designed pages with die cuts where you can peek through. This palette of blues and purples and pinks is just, it allows you, it's just a beautiful atmosphere to travel through, wonderful imagination. And I also love, it's a wonderful representation of diversity because Eva is hearing impaired, which they don't outwardly, let you know that. You just, when you're reading the story,
She's a cochlear.
Yes.
Normalizes that experience.
Yes.
Which I really, really love about that. So this is from Tiger Tales. So as we mentioned, they are from the UK, and they're available here in the US. And they also have another line called 360 Degrees that is fantastic and illustrated nonfiction. So be sure to check them out. Now, our next book that we're going to be talking about is actually Valentines Guest House. So we're going to be joined by yet another team member here, and that is Stacy Ashby. Welcome, Stacy. Hi. So something you should know about Stacy, we've known each other a long time. Actually, even longer than I've known Tracy, now that I think about it. So Stacy has been with me almost since the very beginning, that's 14, 15 years now, for Publisher Spotlight. And this is a book about hospitality.
Yes, it is. This is such an imaginative book where this has a hotel, and this apparently a lion just kind of pops in, needs a place to stay.
As they do.
I know. It's like, and the little girl was like, "Oh, I can help you." And then, of course, that scares off all the other guests. But then they become very creative and put the word out that everyone is welcome. And so they wait and wait. And then, after a little bit of time, all these animals start coming and arriving. And what I really love about this book is that it is very inclusive. Everybody is welcome, and they really bend over backwards to try to make sure that everyone is taken care of. Because everyone that comes, each animal that comes, actually has a special need.
Well, that is a beautiful message. And, Child's Play is so good at this type of book. They're good at hospitality. They're good at diversity. They did it before it was cool. They did diversity. And they didn't define it in just one way. They really broadly looked at diversity and brought it to their publishing. So we're excited to have them with our list. So check out Valentines Guest House. Gorgeous illustrations, really fun. And I kind of want to stay in a guest house with the turtle.
Me too.
I'm not sure about the tiger. But, if it's one that will have a good conversation, then sure, I'd gobble that up. Wait a minute. Bad choice of words?
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah,
You
could
might
be.
lunch.
I might be lunch. That's true. But wouldn't that be a great way to go? Yeah. So that is great. Our next book is My Neighborhood, and My Neighborhood is from Tapioca Stories. So here we go, and I'm welcoming back Emma. So Emma, My Neighborhood, we have a lot of books about neighborhoods and hospitality, don't we?
We do.
Gosh, I wonder if that's a theme today in the world. I don't know, but tell me what you love about this book.
I absolutely adore these comic illustrations, just full of so many comedic surprises. It combines watercolor with these photo transfer collages. You really get to take a look into the elderly Miss Marta's life as she goes out every morning to check that the world is how it should be, with her friends sitting, playing cards on the terrace.
Oh, yeah.
Children playing on the playground, beachgoers suntanning on the beach. And it's just great to be able to see the wonder of diversity that really surrounds us in our communities.
Yeah, and this is by Maria Jose Ferrara, who is from Chile, and she did Niños, poems of the Lost Children of Chile from Erdman's, which won lots of awards last year. You know what I like about this book? I like that it's about an older woman who is not defined by being a grandmother. Now, it isn't that I'm not a grandmother and I have feelings about that. No, it's not that at all. It's really more just that, older women can have full, rich lives that do not revolve around grandchildren. So, yay. And I love the fact that she is unapologetic about her tattoo here at the end. Now, we're based in Nashville. Actually, we're based just outside Nashville. We're in Smyrna on the new Nashville Highway. And next door to us is a tattoo parlor, and I think they would really respect her Oswald Michael tattoo here in My Neighborhood. So let me tell you a little bit about Tapioca Stories. So Tapioca Stories is based here in Brooklyn. Yael Bernstein is the publisher, and she is originally from Argentina, and a lot of the books they do are coming from Latin America, and South America in general. So we're excited to have these books here and represented here, and I think I'd like to go hang out in that neighborhood for a while. Yeah. So, My Neighborhood, Tapioca Stories, check it out. And our next book is actually from Turkey. So we are going all over the world. We are in Chile, now we're going to Turkey, and I'm joined by Heather Ami, who is our newest team member. Welcome, Heather.
Thank you very much.
So Heather is our operations coordinator. So thank you so much for joining us, and tell us what really caught your eye about Pina.
Yes, so this is Pina. It is written and illustrated by Elif Yemenisi, who has illustrated over 80 children's books himself. So this follows the story of an apprehensive Pina who realizes that in order to have a feast, he's going to have to leave his comfy, cozy home and enter the dark and scary world.
Ooh.
So one of the cool things about this book is that it teaches children that there are different mechanisms of coping with anxiety. So like heavy breathing, peaceful thoughts, and sometimes carrying around your favorite potted plant. So.
Just as long as it's not a cactus. That might be a little prickly. Yeah, ouch. One thing I like is the last book is about a very sociable person who's always going out in the neighborhood. In this one, Pina doesn't really get out much.
I understand it. As someone who considers himself a homebody as well, I totally get it.
You totally get it. One thing I really love about these illustrations is that they are basically dioramas. These are three-dimensional illustrations. So I'm going to show you my favorite one as Pina is getting ready to exit for the first time in a long time to go get his favorite tasty snacks, opening the door, and don't you see that light kind of spilling in? And it really looks like the sunlight is coming into that picture, doesn't it? Incredible illustrations. Just a beautiful, beautiful book from Tilbury House, and again from Turkey. So there you have it. That's an amazing, amazing place to bring books from, and it just shows how many amazing books come from all over the world. So that is Pina. Now our next book is from Cube Publishing, and this is My Dad is Always Working. Now, how many kids can relate to that? Really, I mean, so many. So we're joined now by Christina Moorhead. And Christina, you have been, we've already introduced you.
Yes.
So let's remind everyone, this is Christina. Do you remember her from 3 books ago? And she's back. So why does this book resonate with you?
This book is a story about a Muslim family, Abdullah and his mom and dad. And Abdullah, just like many children, he sees one of his parents doing a lot of the work. When he wakes up, his mom is there. When he needs food, his mom is there. And he doesn't always see his dad. His dad works and does things at night. And Abdullah, that makes him pretty sad. This is something that goes beyond just a story about a Muslim family. This is a story that is connected. It's a story that many children and families can relate to. And I love that connectivity.
And Heather, this one spoke to you as well.
This really hit home for me as a child who had a parent that worked 3 jobs growing up. You know, you realize that you don't get to spend as much time with them, but what you don't realize are a lot of the gestures of love that go unseen by kids, by their parents. So
that's a beautiful thing. And this is from Cube Publishing, and the thing about Cube to know is they are based in the UK, and their books always have to do with Muslim faith and culture. So this is, if you're looking for books that reflect that, this is a really good publisher to check out. This is just one of the things. They also do a lot of board books. They even have some middle grade books and some that are more explicitly about Muslim faith, you know, the 5 pillars of Islam, that kind of thing. And then others that are more just taking place in communities that worship in that way. So that is Cube Publishing. Thanks so much for joining us, Heather. And next, Letters to Ami. And this one comes to us from India, from Kadadi Tales, which is based in Chennai. So, Christina, what is it that you like about this?
This Letters to Me offers ways to work with memory so that you can process loss and grief. It is a story told with photographs and integrated pen and ink drawings with spots of color. It lets you in on a personal story of a young woman remembering her mother. And it was very touching to me, personally. Beautiful book that just lets you know that you can take memorable journeys to remember the people you've lost and love. And it's very touching.
It is touching. It's done in an epistolary format, so it's letters from a child to her mother, and also kind of a travelogue of Delhi.
Yes.
So of the city. And I love the illustrations and how they take the actual photographs and then expand on them. So it's just beautiful. And this has been on some of the best of the year lists from all over the world. And Kata Details is a publisher that is actually very huge in India. They're a major publisher. They do a lot of audiobooks there. And it's certainly one you want to check into. I love the Farmer Falgu series. So if you're looking for books that reflect Indian culture and are very simple but also fantastic for story time, just check out the Farmer Falgu books. And this is a book about loss. When I was at that school counselor conference not too long ago, they were looking for books about grief. Yes, because people have experienced a lot of loss, especially in the last few years, and this is a book that does it very, very eloquently. The next book I have is All Shining in the Spring, and this is one that I think is especially resonant for people of a very specific, experiencing a very specific kind of loss. So, Emily, would you like to talk a little bit about this one?
Yeah, in this book, Matthew is recognizing that his mother is about to have a baby, but unfortunately the baby does not make it all the way through the pregnancy. The reason I appreciate this book so much is that it helps children in dealing, and I really appreciate books that help children in coping and dealing with the grieving process. And this book is really good about allowing a kid to relate to experiences that might be a little hard for kids to process. So I appreciate this author as well. She's written multiple books for adults and children. She's our creator of Little Island Press, and she's also Ireland's first children's laureate, and she is a really big powerhouse for sure.
She is. And Christina, would you like to add anything there?
You know, this book is a demystifier. It demystifies and it informs a young children about a topic that is very hard. This is a hard conversation. And it offers parents, friends, family, whoever is working with that child, a really valuable way to open up the discussion, to tell some truths. And it also more broadly deals with just the issue of grief and loss. And it's very valuable just as a resource. And it's written, with beautiful little illustrations that really open it up for the child who's listening and reading it with you. So,
yeah,
it's valuable.
I think that Siobhan Parkinson was dealing with this in her personal life, and she wrote this book for her own son, who is now running Little Island Books, and there just wasn't anything about this. So this is a new version of the book. It's a classic literature, and it's exciting to have it here in this format. And Siobhan has such a deft touch with this, and I feel like there are a lot of people who have experienced the situation, and it's going to really work well for them, and we're delighted to celebrate it. So I have another book about loss coming next. So don't worry, it's going to get lighthearted again, but I think these are important things to talk about. So we're going to say farewell to Emily and Christina, and hello again to Stacy. And we're going to talk about Pumpkin and Me. So, hey, this is the one with your notes on it. Do you want that one? Yeah, why not? So Pumpkin and Me is from Nube Ocho, and so this is kind of real for us this week. One of our office kitties died earlier this week, and he had been with us for 5 years, he and his sister, and she's kind of confused right now. But I think it's so important to validate that loss of a pet, of a beloved pet, and acknowledge that it's real. So what do you like about this particular book?
Well, this book touched on a perfect way to express, for teaching kids to express their emotions that they deal with when they lose a pet. A pet in most homes, I know, like in my home, I mean, they are part of the family.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So
yeah.
It's like, and when you have that loss, a lot of times children can't put into words what they're feeling. And the author and the illustrator does such a wonderful job. They talk about how their heart feels like it's being squeezed by an octopus, and that they're covered with a really dark cloud that just won't go away. The eyes she feels like she's got soap in her eyes, and she's constantly tearing and crying. So it's just a very kid-friendly way, but it just expresses and touches on helping the child to just come to terms with what they're feeling is okay, and that let's really remember what made you happy about the pet, and how let's just remember the good times, and then those things eventually kind of ease up and go away.
But Pumpkin will always be a part of her.
Yeah.
Just like Bruno will always be a part of this place. So one thing to note about Nube Ocho is that the books they do in English are also always available in Spanish as well. So you can do Pumpkin and Me or Pequeño if you prefer. And they even do some books that are just in Spanish that are translations of really popular books here. All the John Clausen Hat books, this is where you find them in Spanish. Elise Gravel's Disgusting Critters, it's even cooler and more disgusting in Spanish. It just sounds so cool. So look for those things from Nube Ocho, based in Spain, but everything they do for here is done in Latino Spanish, not in Castilian Spanish. So I just want to make sure everyone knows that. So that is Nube Ocho. Next up, I'll make sure I get this in the right order again, human kindness. And I think human kindness is something we all need more of. So come on back. And meantime, we'll look at this. Christina just talked with the author of Human Kindness, and you can listen to that whole conversation on our YouTube channel. Is this a good time to mention at Pub Spotlight? I think it is. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and on YouTube. So tell us about John Francis.
I was just so honored to speak to John Francis. He's also known as the Planet Walker. He spent 17 years of his life in silence, walking this country and the planet, and along the way he got his bachelor's degree.
Wait a minute, 17 years of
17
silence?
years of silence.
I don't think I could go 17 minutes of silence.
He and his banjo.
He and his banjo. Oh, we didn't mention the banjo.
The banjo.
Okay.
No spoilers on his video though.
Okay, sorry.
There may be banjo music.
Okay.
There may be. But he spent 17 years, and along the way he got his bachelor's degree, his master's degree, his PhD, all in silence. An amazing gentleman and activist, and very dedicated to bringing the message of kindness from just be kind memes and catchphrases into being a serious topic. And this book raises kindness to a serious topic.
Thank you so much. And Emily, this one really spoke to you too.
Yeah, I appreciate how dedicated he is to making kindness a priority in every aspect of a child's life. He goes back all the way to caveman days and prehistoric times and how kindness could have possibly been shown back then, even if we don't know exactly what happened. He believes that kindness is an important part of a person's relationship with the earth, not just relationship with other people. He also founded Planet Walk, an environmental awareness program that is also kind of where he got the Planet Walker name. And yeah, he definitely enforces that environmental aspect throughout this book.
And want to talk about the quotes?
Yes, I love the quotes on this, I guess, would it be, or one of our back pages? Or
the back matter. Oh my goodness, back matter. Take a swig.
He really talks about contemporary figures that have enforced kindness throughout our communities across the world.
I have to point out Dolly Parton. Yes, there is a Dolly Parton call out because we are just outside Nashville. So there you go. So this is Human Kindness, and I think the thing I love most about this is that it models active kindness. A lot of times, books that talk about kindness are just sort of like being nice. And that's good. It's good to be nice. But active kindness entails more investment of yourself in what's happening. And this details kindness throughout history and around the world. So it shows the universality and potential of kindness. So that is from What on Earth Books. Thank you very much. And What on Earth Books is based in the UK and also has an editorial office here in the US. And they just are so good at this great illustrated nonfiction. So one of the things I love most. And next up we have a book from, hey Heather.
Hi, how are you?
It's amazing how this happens. Wow. So we have kimchi every day. So gosh, do you like kimchi?
I love kimchi.
Oh,
I
cool.
could eat kimchi every day probably.
Well, now you have a guide on how to do that.
I love it.
Yeah, so tell us why you like this one.
This is a book by Erica Kim, and what's really cool about this book is that she has illustrated it as well using hanji paper, which is from a mulberry tree native to Korea.
That's good.
And this book is really fun. It introduces young readers to the days of the week, as well as several different delicious kimchi dishes throughout. So
On that art.
it is beautiful, and it has something that you'll love in the back.
Oh, does it have back
It's
matter?
got tons of back matter.
Back matter.
So this gives you facts about the different kimchi dishes and how to create some of your own as well. So
That's amazing. I love a good picture book with a recipe. Just makes me so happy. This is from Soaring Kite Press and Soaring Kite Books. And Soaring Kite Books is based in the Washington, D.C. area. Started by Cease Kelly, and Cease really wanted to bring books from diverse creators to the U.S. And this is just amazing. I hope you check them out. They also have The Secret of the Platanos, Dear Mama's Loving Arms. They have books based in the Dominican Republic and Gambia, all over the world. So check out Soaring Kite Books, not press, as I have often said wrongly. So next up, while we're talking about kimchi, which I think is fermented, Francisca, Is kimchi fermented?
It is.
Oh, thank you. This is Francisca Goldsmith, who is one of our longest-term people on the Publisher Spotlight team. Thank you so much for being
I'm
here.
so old.
No, I deliberately did not say oldest members of the team. I said longest term. So there you go. She runs our Twitter account if you enjoy the sly wit often exhibited. And the always being on top of it of our Twitter account, that's Francisca, and so much more. Just a wise woman in the room. So Francisca, why do you love Sandor Katz?
There's so many things I like about Sandor Katz. This is from a series of books called Food Heroes. It's published by Readers to Eaters. And every single one of the books in this series features an adult rather than a child, which is rather unusual in picture books. However, one of the things that's true of each of these adults is that they've changed careers and they've changed lifestyles as their lives go on. Because of that, not only is this series fantastic for food literacy occasions, but it's also great to use these with family literacy programs in libraries where adults who are finding books for the first time in their own lives can see that it's possible to remake yourself, that you may have had trouble finding work before you could read. And there are openings of possibilities of changing your life, changing how you identify in the world. Sandor Katz, for instance, started his life as an adult working for New York City as parks and waterfront planner. And then the AIDS crisis came along in the 80s, and a lot of his friends died, and he became an activist. And part of his activism involved getting healthier. So learning about plants that worked. And from there, he got into
fermentation. Fun with microbes. So, Sandor Katz and the Tiny Wild. I love this book. I think what's important about it, or what seems stand out to me, is that it's so multi-layered. So on its face, it's a biography. You know, we're learning about food science, but also when you dig deeper, it's about resourcefulness, resilience, community building. What do you do when you have a bunch of cabbages and you need to do something with them? You get creative and then you share with other people. So I just think that there are so many layers of messages, sort of like a multi-layered taste you might get when you ferment something. I don't know. And also I think it's important to encourage kids to have fun with food and to be more adventurous with their eating.
And there are so many ways and so many foods all over the world that involve fermentation. Which is your favorite, Ellen?
Oh, I'm a pickle girl. I love some pickles.
So you like fermented vegetables. What about you?
I drink a kombucha every single day. It's easy to find them in the grocery now, but it wasn't always so. So I think it's important, and it speaks to the fact that we're beginning to see, wow, some of these things that people have been doing throughout history are actually healthy, and we need to do them. So I think this is a great and timely, very timely book.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. So thanks so much for sharing with Sandor Katz. I also want to point out that this will be coming, sneak peek, exclusive, right here. This will be coming out in audio in 2023 because Live Oak Media does almost all the Readers to Eaters books on audio. So you'll certainly want to check those out. We're going to take a quick intermission for just a minute so we can hydrate, get my next stack of books up, and join us for the second half of our Publisher Spotlight Fall 22 Showcase. Welcome back. We are here to continue our spotlight on, amazing books from Fall 22 from the Publisher Spotlight clients. So next up, we're going to cicada books. So it's British, so it's cicada, not cicada. Just saying. If you're wondering, that's not how you say that, Ellen. No, you say cicada. Anyway, this is Altazakan, Old Things, and Izzy, you're joining us. Now, is this your first time joining us?
It
Because
is.
I've lost touch. Okay, that's amazing. So Izzy is one of our publisher liaisons here at Publisher Spotlight, and we're excited to have her. And you have experience as a teacher, and this is a book you really like, right?
Yeah, I love this
So,
book.
and you've actually met the author
I have, yeah, I got to go visit her and meet with her, and we've talked a lot.
in London.
In London.
Wow, nice.
And we got to talk about this book. I got to do a Q&A with her, which will also be able to be found on our blog. And so some of the wonderful things about this book is it takes us through New York City with the grandmother and her grandson journeying to get their Friday night dinner. And you get to see the relationship and the differences between both the grandmother and her grandson. The grandson is super personable and he wants to be kind to everyone, and the grandma's a little bit cranky, but she loves her grandson so much with all of their intergenerational differences.
And Francisca, I know you like this book for lots of reasons, but one of them is
One of them is that this is a story that's a graphic novel, so it's told as much in pictures as it is in words. And the wash art that's used is so perfect both for New York City and for the intergenerational story that's being told. One of the powerful things about the story that's told here is that in part it's about the grandmother's life. And it shows us, as well as tells us, how each of us carries the history that we've lived through into our today's life. So, for instance, when you're walking around New York, one of the things that they see are people who have tattoos. However, for the grandmother, tattoos bring up a whole different memory because she's been around for a long time and she wasn't born in New York City. So this is a book about intergenerational differences, but it's also about why some people just are crotchety. And one of the things that I find about it is that she's not unaware that she's crotchety. One of her saving graces, I think, for her grandson as well as for herself, is that she understands her own limits.
beautifully done. One of the things I really love about the art, and you alluded to this too, is the transition in the color. So when we're in present day times, it's all sepia tone. And as she's going back in her memories, the color is richer and deeper and more interesting and lively. So that's kind of the opposite of how we usually think of these things. We think of the past as being sepia. But as you age, then sometimes the past is much more clear than the present, which I think is beautifully expressed here. And this is a very personal story for Ziggy Hanawar. And she's done some amazing books. You may know The Pocket Chaotic, which is a very different kind of story. It's a picture book about a little kangaroo trying to make sense out of the chaos that his mama kangaroo leaves. I think my kids probably could have really related to that particular title. And in this one, it's just a beautiful story about a child and a grandmother. So be sure to check out all the books from Cicada Books, and their illustrated nonfiction is especially amazing.
If you need a drink right now, let's point out that there is back matter.
Oh, back matter! Oh my gosh, I love some good back matter. So you showed it, didn't you? And then this beautiful getting ready for Shabbat. Nice of you. So this is Alte Sachen, old things. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but I hope I am. Am I close?
I think
Yeah,
so.
kind of close. All right. Well, next up, let's talk about food some more. So let's talk about cultured donuts.
Do
In
it.
this book, do you want to get us going here?
So Cultured Donuts takes us through all the art styles of some of the most famous artists, and this is all through a pink frosted donut. So the author and illustrator of this book is Chloe Tyler. She lives in Nashville now, actually, and she loves to use bright colors and graphics in all of her art, and you can really see that throughout the book and the different artists that she shows you. And I just want to show real quick, she does give you or she shows us a self-portrait of herself before we get to the artist.
Oh, how cool is
Yeah,
that?
and you can see her with all of the different donuts in her studio. So we love this.
Yeah.
And we're joined by Joe Osborne,
Hi,
who
everybody.
is another new team member. You're welcome, Joe.
Yes.
And he is our logistics coordinator. So if you've ever received books from us, chances are Joe may have packed
I
those.
put my grubby paws on them. There are a couple things about this book that I just really, really love. In the beginning, Chloe Tyler mentions that it took her 3 years to do all the donuts in this book, and she also mentions that it took Michelangelo only 4 years to paint the Sistine Chapel,
Wow.
which I thought was pretty impressive and a little self-deprecating. It's an inspiring introduction to art history, and I just love that she goes, like you said, from Da Vinci to Basquiat. There's a specific spread in this book by Alphonse Mucha that I really, really like.
I will show you that.
It is it's kind of the quintessential Art Nouveau musical poster spread, and I really think she captures his style greatly. And then the other thing I really love about this is that every donut comes with a bite-sized historical fact about the artist, which I just thought was great. And as far as back matter, I know we've said that word about 1,000 times.
Oh, not yet. We still have more ways to go.
Yeah, there's tips and tricks on how to emulate these artists' styles in the back of the book, as well as a really, really handy art term glossary. So it's just a really, really great introductory book for kids and adults, honestly.
And here's that glossary. I love books that look at art through a specific object. So this is one if you want something sweet, and if you want something a little bit more like a cup of coffee or tea, then you might want to check out My Cup of Art, which also has a cool flip-up element with the flap element from Albatross. But this is from Flower Pot Press, which is based here in Nashville and in Toronto, Canada. So how is that for, being multinational? Come on in, Rebecca. I forgot to introduce Rebecca, which is rude of me. I'm so sorry, but I'm so glad you're here. Rebecca is one of our publisher liaisons here at Publisher Spotlight, and I've known you a long time, too.
You have. It's been about 20 years.
Yeah. So here we are, and you've worked with me at Ingram, and I know you love the books. So
I do.
Tell us about Grizzly Grist.
So I love this book. Let's just say the title first because I think it's indicative of the fun within. The Grizzled Grist does not exist.
Let's all say it.
Ready?
Yes.
The
Grizzled Grist does not exist.
Nice.
So this is from Gecko Press. This is from the team that brought us That's Not a Hippopotamus. And this is a fun, bouncy, rhyming read aloud. And I'm going to call this a journey story where this is about a class trip into the Dismal Woods wilderness, which sounds like there could be something lurking in the woods. And there is. It's the Grizzled Grist. And nobody wants to believe it's really there. The main character is a child named Liam, and his particular skill is hiding. All the other kids are bragging about how they can, forage for things to eat or build a fire, and poor Liam is just hiding. But it ends up saving the day. So this is sort of, we're going to call this a triumph for the quiet kid lurking in the back. I can relate to that. So
Yeah, I love it. And the other thing is, one thing you can do, and notice this with books, is that the end papers are so clever in this book. So
while this is not back matter, this is sort of the back, well, this is the front page, but the back page has something cool too.
front matter.
Yes, this is front matter. And what I love about this book is the amount of detail that the illustrator has put into the children in the book. We get to see every child in the class has a different personality, but not only that, we get to know their names. And so I have never seen a book where every kid in the class is given a name in this little class photo, which makes it fun. And you can almost read the book through each time following a different child and seeing their personality, which is really fun.
Yeah, that's nice. And I'm going to show you the back end papers because I love it when the end papers change from the beginning into the back and you get a sense of the progression of the story.
Mm-hmm. We have the Grist himself, and he's not too scary, which I appreciate. He's just the right amount of scary.
Yeah, and the case wrap. I mean, we don't often talk about the case wrap, but it's much more interesting. So look at the story as it's revealed here. So good publishing, using all the tools and playing with all the things and putting so much thought and care into every aspect.
Just super fun.
Yeah.
Super fun read aloud.
And this publisher is Gecko Press, who was the actual first winner of the Publisher of the Year at Bologna International Children's Book Fair. They're based in New Zealand, and this is actually, I think that this is a New Zealand author, author and illustrator. So, gotta love the Kiwis and their sense of humor, right? Their theme is books for curious kids, so I think they live up to that, and they always bring the fun. So that is The Grizzly Grist does not exist. Not now, said in stereo. Sorry about that. Next up, we have My Hands.
This is from Red Comet Press, and this is actually a book that was originally in French by creator Najib, who is French-Tunisian. This is a really cool book because it's a simple topic. It's all the things you can do with your hands, but it's some of the things you may not expect or things you wouldn't think about. We think about the obvious things, but this book does it in a really creative way, and there is a lot to it. So it's simple, but there is a lot you can peruse over multiple sittings. So yes, and it's done in a minimalist art style, so mostly just black outlines, but on each page there's an element of color that kind of helps direct your eye. So this particular spread I think is very clever we have juggle, and there are colorful balls that we're juggling, but then on the next spread it is decorate, and those balls become Christmas ornaments. So I think it's just really fun and cute.
And verbs.
Yes. Multiple applications, so you can use this for art inspiration, language arts, etc.
And Tracy.
Yes, I came in to join. This is also one of my favorites. I have been a children's librarian for more years than I care to remember at this point, and my love has always been for those youngest books, birth up to about age 6. And so I expected when we first were told about this book, for it to be a book of opposites. That's very standard, and I was like, well, that's cute and that's well done. And yes, there are several spreads that are on the opposites, but then there's so much more to this. It really does become action oriented, and it allows for conversations to occur. I mean, on this spread, for instance, pick up and save. Well, hey, now I can have a money conversation with the children on how we need to save our coins in order to buy what we want. And then there's just so many things that can be done with this.
Ooh, that's what we're doing now. We're putting on a show.
Mm-hmm.
Lighting it
and
up.
there's a spotlight.
How appropriate
Oh my
is
gosh,
that?
that's perfect.
Yeah.
So anyway, just a very well done book that seems simple to begin with and just has depth after depth that it can be used for.
Simple but rich.
Yes, and let's talk a minute about Red Comet Press, because, man, did they come on with just a huge blast of excellence. Red Comet is run by Angus Ewan Killick, and Angus was at Macmillan for many, many years, as well as several other publishers. He knows what he's doing. He's been around for a long time, and he's bringing these amazing books from around the world here to the U.S., and every one of them is just a gem. Just be sure to look at Red Comet Press. Books for easy readers, board books, chapter books, just lots of picture books, so much coolness at Red Comet. And Christina, you're back.
I'm back.
How did that happen? It's magic.
It is magic.
Yes, it is. So tell us about the book you're holding in your hands, because it's cool.
Well, if you close your eyes and imagine a board book.
Okay, do it. Everyone close your eyes.
Close your eyes. Imagine what you expect a board book to look like.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to ask you to open your eyes and check this out.
Oh, I can't lift it.
It is a 71-page board book, and it has a table of contents. This is Britannica's Baby Encyclopedia, and if you think babies don't need encyclopedias, I beg to differ. This covers all the things. It is made to lay flat for tummy time for little tiny word lovers, and beautiful art. This spread about nighttime and evening. It also has just a wide variety of ways to present new material. This is a tree with its parts labeled for plants and introduction to plants. Breathtaking resource for really young word lovers. Sentences that are able, you can say them and you can read it to the child and they can copy it, and it gives them an idea of early language skills. I just love this giant, beautiful board book.
You know, and I love that they put a little note on the back, in case you're wondering, that this baby encyclopedia is weighty with information. It is best enjoyed on the floor or held in the lap. So, you know, it does come with some very simple instructions, but oh, how fun it is. And look at all the different subjects it includes. So just different categories. If you've seen the Britannica the Kids Britannica All New Encyclopedia, I don't think those were in the right order, but those are all the words that are in the title of that book, then know this was kind of done along those same lines with the same kind of care and love. And yeah, it's amazing. That was randomly open, and look at that, how cool that is. And did we point out the die cuts on the front?
No. An excellent opportunity for geometric peekaboo.
Yes, geometric peekaboo. I think that needs to be a game. Let's do it. Work on it. Geometric peekaboo. I love it. So this is from Britannica Books. So they are very closely allied with What on Earth Books. So it's a lot of the same team. And of course, those Britannica experts, they are at work on this one. So they do. They very much know their stuff. So I'm going to be rejoined by Izzy while we look at this beautiful book from Inhabit Media. So Izzy, have you been on a journey with Aqua?
I have been on a journey with Aqua.
What did you learn?
I learned so much about the thick-billed murs and their journey through Journey South in the Arctic. So I want to show these amazingly just sweet and gorgeous illustrations.
Ooh.
And so sweet. And we have Aqua as a little baby, and he's just born, so he can't fly yet, but they need to get south. Luckily, another thing I've learned from this book is that male murs also cannot fly in the winter because their feathers change out.
Isn't that interesting?
It is.
Huh.
I know. So the baby gets to swim with his father until he can jump and learn about bravery and facing scary things while also learning about Arctic animals.
How cool is that?
It's awesome.
So tell us about the author of this book, right?
Yeah, so the author is Mia Pelliter, and she's actually an Arctic ecologist. So she works with Arctic seabirds and helps with the co-management of protected areas in the Arctic tundra.
That's so cool.
I know.
That would be a great career in the If You Dream It, You Can Do It book. So yes, amazing. So Inhabit Media is a publisher that is based in the Arctic. They have offices in Toronto and in Iqaluit and Nunavut. And they always have lots of input from the local community, people who are part of Inuk. And it's just very, very cool that they do what they do. And I just have to point out that if you want to learn how to speak Inuktitut, then Inuktitut words, then there is a glossary in the back. There almost always is, and I mean with books from Inhabit Media. So there's great back matter. Take a swig. Water.
Yes.
Yes, good stuff. So that is Inhabit Media. So next up is Ready for School words. You know, Britannica is very good at encyclopedias, but if there's a publisher that comes to mind for vocabulary, it is
Merriam-Webster.
It's Merriam-Webster for sure. And this is from Merriam-Webster Kids.
Well,
yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
This is exactly what it says. It is a cornucopia of Ready for School words, a cast of inclusive and diverse characters and families. And I love all of the context. I love all of the context that they give the individual words. So it's not just labels, but it's sentences, and it gives you people in action and their actions in context. It's a very active book. It's not just a staid, boring word book. It came to mind that this is also a wonderful resource for ESL and EFL. English as a second language, English as a foreign language, both of which I taught in my years in Japan. Just being able to have this where you can point, you can talk about a word, you can integrate it with their native language, as well as the language they're learning. Just a wonderful resource. It's so much fun.
Yes, and just look at all the varieties. So, I mean, Richard Scarry is awesome and certainly led this field for a long time, but it's not terrible to have other resources that you can go to when you're trying to build those vocabularies. So, and lots of things going, and I do love the diversity on every page. It's just really lovely. So this is coming to us from Merriam-Webster Kids, and our next book is actually also one with lots of detail, and we are going to be joined again by with Francisca Goldsmith to talk about what goes inside from Albatross Publishing, who is based where? Czechia! We got to meet them. They came over for the American Library Association. We had a great time with them. They are good at nonfiction. So tell us what you love about what goes inside.
Adults generally tend to shy away from complexity, and children and young readers and young people tend to celebrate it, but it has to be in the right way. And boy, does this book celebrate complexity. So what goes inside takes an everyday object and takes a peek inside.
Yeah, everything from refrigerators to my favorite, a rock band's band.
Ooh, a rock band's band. What's in there? A drum set, like from earlier today?
There is a drum set and more.
Oh,
The
nice.
question is, what isn't in the rock band's
Oh,
band?
well, there you go. Okay.
And one of the things that Francisca and I were talking about was spatial quality to this book.
Yeah, this is a book in which not only do you get to see what's inside, but what actually fits inside and what wouldn't fit inside. How big a toolbox do you need if you have this many tools? You're going to need a bigger toolbox if you're building a skyscraper.
Wow. It's a rare resource. I mean, spatial awareness and being able to think in spatial terms is not an easy thing to approach, and this book is made for considering that. I also love the fact that it would resonate with any young person who likes to do collections of things. And I certainly was one of those young people. Rocks, things, anything I found. So
hoarders, beware. Yeah, this may not be the right book, or it might be the right book for you. I'm hearing from you that this is a very spatial book.
it is.
Sorry, that was bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't hear any groans. I probably should have heard some groans there.
I'll go with it.
Yeah, okay, thanks. All right, good. No, this is from Albatross. We're excited to have it. And there's more than just this one. There's several kind of in this whole collection of books. So if you're looking for really good, interesting, illustrated nonfiction, Albatross Media, who is one of the largest publishers in Europe, children's book publishers in Europe, is a great publisher to check out. So thank you so much, Christina. And now we're going to have a little bit of a choreography thing while we go to Gold. Gold, which is so beautiful. This is a special book. And I'm saying that with an E, not an A. So this comes to us from Preston Books. So, Francisca, what do you love most about this book?
This is a wordless book.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things it does so well is show the power of pictures to provide information.
Right.
So here's a story that involves 3 bears and the word gold. What does that make you think of?
Kind of makes me think about Goldilocks.
Yeah, kind of makes you do. One of the things that having the image-specific focus of how this story is going to be told is that we have to collect information from the images. So we find out very early in the story that instead of taking place in a forest or some other place where you would expect to find bears, we're actually in a city. We can see that. But this isn't a city of humans. Nope. As we can see, coming down the street is a car full of goats.
The greatest of all time?
Goats? No.
No, oh, different kind of goat. Like the
kind.
Used to be goats. Okay.
Yeah, like in the olden days.
Yeah, oh, okay, thank you, yes. Like 3 billy goats.
3 billy goats.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the other thing that I just find fabulous about this is that of any Goldilocks and the 3 Bears story I have ever seen illustrations of, is this the most perfect, and it was just right.
So beautiful. You know what I love about this book is I love how it plays with your expectations. You look at this and you think, oh, Goldilocks and the 3 Bears. I know exactly what's going to happen here. But then as you're progressing through the story, you're wrong. You're wrong. It's not just that. And I love how you realize at a certain point that she is actually part of the family. Here you see the kind of moment when the bears discover her. What's going to happen? And then you flip the page, and they've got flowers for her. And then you go to the end, and you can see all the wonderful. Do you have all the pictures on the wall? I just love that. I just love that. And that she's part of the family. So is it an adoption story? Could be. It could be lots of different stories, but that's the beauty of a wordless book, is you can make it be what you want to. And you know, one thing I love about this book, I can't wait to do this story time, is I make the kids do the work.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, I just show them, say, what is going on in this picture? And let them tell me what's going on, which is always, always fun. So that is gold from Creston Books. Creston Books is based in San Francisco, and it actually kind of looks like San Francisco, doesn't it?
Actually, isn't it actually based in
Berkeley? Probably. You say that as a former Berkeley librarian. Yeah, I got that. So it's somewhere on the West Coast in California, probably Northern California. Francisco thinks it's Berkeley. That is where Creston is based, and they are so good at picture books. And I love how they work with authors and illustrators who do their passion projects.
Yes.
So, you know, if you're wanting to see a book that is really the one closest to the heart of an author or illustrator, Creston is a great place to start. So our next book we have coming up is something that is going to be familiar to lots of people. So 1, 2, 3. Nancy Drew! Oh my goodness, so did you...
She's dead?
Oh no. When did that happen?
It says the death of Nancy Drew.
Oh, a Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys noir? Ooh,
Really?
Tell me more.
Okay.
Okay.
You remember Ned, her boyfriend?
Yeah, Ned. He had a crew cut?
Uh-huh. Yeah. I always knew he was a baddie.
You did?
Oh,
I thought he was
yeah.
okay. Uh-oh. Okay.
What about
Yeah.
the Bobbsey twins?
I don't remember them in Nancy Drew, but clearly this is an interesting universe.
The
Okay.
Bobbsey twins, let me tell you.
Yeah.
I thought Ned was bad. I knew the Bobbsey twins were like in the basement, and here they are part of the criminal syndicate.
That makes so much sense when you think about it.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah. So this is a graphic novel. What age range would you say this is for?
I'd say it's definitely 13 and up,
Okay.
but it actually is way up. I think people as old as I am would enjoy it.
Oh, yeah.
If they like irony.
Oh, irony. So you're saying this is rich in irony?
Oh, it's real rich in irony.
Okay.
You'll have to be real strong in order to read this.
So take your spinach before you okay,
Oh, yeah.
Gotcha. All right. Gotcha. So this is from Dynamite, and this graphic novel's been coming out. I mean, they've been on the verge of having this out for a while. The author of this is Anthony Del Cole, who is one of my favorite graphic novel script writers, because it's a script, but author, and he does Kill Shakespeare. So if you like Shakespeare and you'd love to see a world where it all gets mashed up and the heroes and the villains and oh yeah, it's just amazing, then check out Kill Shakespeare. But this is the guy right behind Nancy Drew and her mysterious death. Yes.
Or is she dead?
You'll have to read it to find out.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So enough about that. Moving on to another maybe not so mysterious death. We kind of know everyone's going to die in the end because it's a Shakespeare tragedy. So, I should have said spoiler alert.
You know what? There's so many ways to interpret Shakespeare.
Right.
There's Black Shakespeare. There's the one-man Hamlet shows that have been around.
Cool. Yeah.
And one of the things that Classics does, of course, is provide not one type of interpretation, but two types of interpretation of Shakespeare's plays. We have the Shakespeare play editions like this one, in which it's in the original Shakespeare, and we also have the modern classics now.
Actually, I think you're holding the original text and I'm holding modern English.
Whatever.
Okay, but they both exist. Yes.
They do. And in both cases, it is the complete story. It's not expurgated in any way, shape, or form. And also, stylistically, it is definitely manga. One of the things that manga allows the artists to do is show that the overacting that has to happen on a Shakespearean stage in order to communicate to people the emotions and also the motivations of characters in those plays.
And I think it makes it very teen friendly too, because let's face it, Hamlet is hot. So I've heard that said by teens. I've shown this book too. It's like, ooh, Hamlet's hot. So it's very fun, and it's a great way. It gives lots of clues and through the setting, and everyone's giggling over to the side because they're not used to hearing. Look at Othello. Iago was hot too. Just having to say. Moving on from the hotness to the actual value of having these books in this wonderful format that makes the Shakespeare plays really relevant and timely and understandable for a variety of readers.
And look what's in the back.
Is there back matter? Yay! Actually, it's front matter because it's manga.
No, it's back.
It's back matter. Well, yes, you're right. Yes. You're right. I'm wrong. Okay. All good. So next we are going to move on from manga classics. And by the way, there are a lot of these. How many? Okay, can we name them all? Midsummer Night's Dream, Romeo and Juliet, Othello, Macbeth. Oh, I said it. But that's okay. We're not in a theater. It's okay.
No,
Yeah.
aren't you?
Yeah.
We're putting on a show.
Romeo and Juliet, did I say that already?
You did.
They both die. Yeah. Oops. Spoiler alert.
That's
Okay.
the trouble with tragedies.
Yes. And these are both available in original text and in modern English.
And in hardback and soft.
Yes. Yes. So thank you very much for that. We're going to stay with the kind of graphic reading for older readers with Arsène Lupin, if you're going to do French. But if you're not going to do French, how do you say it, Joe?
Arsène Lupin.
Yeah, thanks for that. So we got the whole range right here. So this is our newest publisher that we're working with, and it's Magnetic Press, who is distributed by Diamond Book Distributors. We're so excited, and I know both of you were like, "Ooh!" when this book came in. So I don't. Whichever one of you wants to start, Heather, why don't you start? Yeah.
I love this book. I read it in one sitting. I couldn't put it down. I just got completely sucked in by all the hijinks and heists, and was still surprised at the end of every chapter.
I like hijinks and heists. Yeah, that's nice.
It's a lot of fun. This is written by Maurice Leblanc, who is a novelist from the early 1900s, and he is the creator of our very lovable anti-hero, Arsène Lupin. So
Yes.
And this is the book that gave birth to really any heist movie that you've ever seen, where the thief is a gentleman, really ultimately a good guy. Arsène Lupin isn't a villain in any shape. And this is a lot of people describe him as the French Sherlock, which I think is really apt. This book is very light and fluid, very adventurous. The actual original prose really, really holds up in modern day. Like I asked earlier if this was a rewriting, because it just seemed to make so much sense reading it. And this one has pictures. It's not a graphic novel, but it has pictures throughout.
Yeah.
And
It's gorgeous.
it has this really light, fluid, very almost comic strip type of art that I really think allows it to flow and to feel like you're just taking a really fun journey, almost like you're on like a roller coaster ride. So
that is Arsène Lupin, originally from France, and now I'll be able to hear. And I think isn't there a Netflix series or
yes, there's a Netflix series based on it.
Yeah, so this is definitely a book you want to have because everyone's going to be talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Lupin having a moment. So there you go. All right, and next up, we're going to take a trip around the world, and in this case, through Harvest Days, available from Barefoot Books. So this is one that is a great answer for I'm doing something around Thanksgiving, but I don't want to necessarily focus on the stories it's always been told. So So Rebecca, you joined us again. Thank you.
Yes.
So would you like to say a little bit about Harvest Days?
Absolutely. So I think the subtitle is a really good peek into what this book is about, giving thanks around the world. So we are going to learn about 12 holidays in different countries and cultures in this book, but not just holidays. They are relating to harvest. So food production, rituals around food, and all the ways that we celebrate once all of the hard work is done. We don't always think about the hard work that goes into growing and creating, food for ourselves to eat. But in other parts of the world, that's very integral in what they're doing. And so they're closely connected with the process of growing and harvesting food. So I think the cool thing about this book is that it's written in rhyme. So not only are we learning, but we're doing it with a rhyming text. The author of this book, Kate De Palma, is actually born and raised outside of Nashville, so that's a pretty fun fact. and the illustrator was raised in Italy. So we're getting unique perspective here. I just think this is a cool classroom resource. There's a lot to learn, and there's pronunciation guides, which is helpful, very helpful. So yeah.
And Heather, how about you?
Oh yeah, it introduces 12 different holidays from all over the world. One of my favorites personally being Pongal, which is a Hindu harvest festival that kind of celebrates some of the unsung heroes, the animals that help with all the labor to produce this bountiful harvest for the year. So
yeah, and if you can see, there are these wonderful little call-outs that give more information, so you can actually enjoy the book on multiple levels.
I love it.
Yeah, which is great. I want to show the back matter.
Yes,
Ooh,
9
great
pages
back matter.
of rich educational back
So
matter.
much good back matter. Barefoot knows what they're doing with the back matter, and it's just such a wonderful book. I love how they focus on places like Barbados and South Korea. We don't often think about them having harvest festivals, but of course they have harvest festivals. So that is Harvest Days, giving thanks around the world from Barefoot Books. So thank you all, and we will move on with another book about celebrations. And this one is We All Celebrate, and this is from Tiny Owl. So, hi Christina.
Hi.
How'd you get here?
I don't know.
That's amazing. So let's talk about this one. This is by Chitra Sandar, who I have to say is one of my very favorite authors for children's books. She did the Farmafalda books for Karagi Tales. She did the You're Safe With Me, You're Snug With Me for Lantana books. And she just knows what she's doing, and I love what she's done here. Tell us more about what she's done here from your perspective.
Well, one of the things that she has talked about is what inspires her, and that is folk tales from around the world. And it is really apparent in this book. And this follows on the heels of Harvest Days. It takes a broader look at celebrations from around the world, and many celebrations that you don't normally run across. Beautiful illustrations. Whoop, dropping my book. Beautiful illustrations. This is a case of Lunar New Year, and very much a browsable nonfiction book.
Ooh, 5 types of nonfiction.
Did it. One of the spreads parts of this book that I really loved was that it's not just talking about music, food, all of the aspects of celebrations are so important, but also elements of faith. And in this case, it has a whole devoted section on fasting, which is a part of many different celebrations around the world for many people. And I find it makes the book very inclusive and definitely holds new information for people who might not know about this element of celebrations. I love this book. It is a trip around the world that I could take again and again.
And Rebecca, what would you like to add?
Yes. So I also enjoyed that this book looks at celebrations in different ways. So this feels like it's categorized in maybe unfamiliar ways that really put a unique spin on looking at celebrations. So I enjoyed the fasting category, but also looking at it broken down into seasons or the calendar or hemispheres even. So I thought that was really fascinating. And then also, if we could take a peek at the end papers, they are one of my favorite aspects of this book. They're really cute and engaging, and I think kids will enjoy picking out the different festivals from the people.
Seek and find elements.
Yeah, seek and find. Nice activity for the classroom. I love this book. It's great.
Yeah. And I love this too, where you have a map. I'm a sucker for maps. Any book that shows a map and shows a lot of the world covered just makes me happy, because sometimes I feel like we ignore certain countries here. Like, it has taken forever for us to have books that take place in South America. And so kudos for including that. And this is from Tiny Owl Books, which is a publisher based in the UK. But actually, it was started by 2 journalists who met while they were in Tehran. So it's got its roots in the Middle East and really does a beautiful job of bringing international creators together. So check out the books from Tiny Owl Books. I'm so thrilled to have this book from Helvetique, Citizen She, the global campaign for women's voting rights. And frankly, it's never ending. Doesn't it kind of feel that way sometimes?
Sure.
Oh my goodness. So we're joined now by Izzy and Emily. And so Emily, why don't you tell us why you like this? Why this book really speaks to you?
Yeah, this is definitely probably my favorite book that we carry. It's
Wow. Okay, that's pretty impressive.
It's a timeline of all the fights for women's rights, well, as many as she could list on there over time, including the key figures that have played a part in it, and kind of an introspective look on them, as well as kind of a worldwide map of these different ladies that have had part in influencing where we come to now. And there's also a page on the protests and the ways to become a protester, and like kind of a guide on that.
Which is something that I think is never goes out of style, for sure. And I especially like how it includes vignettes from specific countries and that journey, and as well as more global perspectives. So, Izzy, what do you like?
Yeah, similarly, I love how it's a global perspective. We're learning about leaders and change makers and women from all around the world. So we're not just hearing about leaders who are very important in America, but also all around the world. And it's just really inspiring kids and readers, to see the global view of how changes have been made, how women have gotten into more power, and how they can continue to do so. And that kind of leads me into the fact matters, which includes, there's a game in there, there's matching games, there's vocabulary. I just see this as such a great resource in the classroom. And there's also an extension. If you go to their website, there's more games, which is always so exciting.
Helvetique. So I should go back to this. Go to www.helvetic.com. So this is a Swiss publisher, as you probably can guess by the name of the publisher. But one thing that I think is really cool about this, also, I gotta mention the book feel. Book feel is a thing, and you can't really tell by looking at it on this video right now, but this book is kind of textured in this case-bound cover, and it's just really feels good in the hand, and the color is vibrant and rich, and it's just beautifully done. This is the first book I know of where a publisher in its very first season has had a book picked up by the Junior Library Guild. So kudos to Helvetique for that, and we're excited to see what more things are going to come out with next season. So be sure to check out Helvetique in the future. So thanks so much for joining. And lastly, because we need to end on a note of hope.
We sure do.
Because that last battle is never going to end, it feels like, right? So let's go to Maybe You Might from Lantana. Izzy, what do you love about this one?
I just love how it's just showing us that one small kid, one small idea, one small seed, as in the story, can lead to changing the world, leading to change their community, your home, your neighborhood, wherever you are, and it's just so inspiring. And I just think it's such a great read for classrooms, for bedtime. I just keep thinking about a kid going to sleep and dreaming about how they're going to change the world every night, and it's so beautifully done.
It is, and the art is gorgeous. This is Ana Cunha, a Brazilian illustrator, and this is her third book. Yeah, her third book with Lantana. She did Afia, A Story of Afia, which was many star reviews and a lot of the best of your lists. And then Anita and the Dragons, which is an immigrant story about a girl coming to the U.S. from the Dominican. And then this story as well. And one of the things that, I talked earlier when we were looking at Grizzly Grist about how you can tell a publisher who really thinks through all the details. This is the opening end papers for Maybe You Might. This is before she has dreamed up her magical thinking of restoring the world to what it was and maybe even more, and this is the end, as it is all returned to this beautiful lush forest and hope is again restored. So this is from Lantana Books, a publisher based in the UK. They have fiction books, they have a new fiction line, they have lots of picture books, and they really truly publish people from all over the world, which is really what we're kind of about here at Publisher Spotlight. We're about bringing books to the U.S. that from all over the world and also from here at home that are quality and just worthy of your time and attention and bring something special, something essential and unique to the conversation that happens in children's books. Thank you so much for joining us today, all of our team here, and please follow us on social media at Pub Spotlight, and we hope you have an amazing fall enjoying all these amazing books.